Hey there, YouTube fam! Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're diving into the captivating story of Will Hunting in the critically acclaimed film, Good Will Hunting. But before we begin, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future movie summaries. All right, let's get started. Will Hunting is an extraordinary individual with a genius-level intelligence that sets him apart. However, despite his exceptional intellectual capabilities, he finds himself working as a janitor at the prestigious MIT. Will's living situation appears to be far from what he is capable of, as he resides in a poorly furnished apartment in a South Boston neighborhood that is troubled by poverty. Will has endured a difficult upbringing as an abused foster child, and he carries deep emotional wounds. He believes that he is to blame for his unhappy past, and this subconscious self-blame leads him to sabotage himself in various aspects of his life. It affects both his professional endeavors and his ability to form lasting romantic relationships. As a result, he finds himself trapped in a cycle of unfulfilled potential, struggling to hold down steady employment and experiencing difficulty in finding lasting happiness. The turning point comes during the first week of classes. He comes across a really tough math problem that was put there as a challenge by Professor Gerald Lambeau, who is a famous mathematician and has even won a prestigious award called the Fields Medal. This problem is actually meant for advanced students, but Will's natural brilliance allows him to solve it easily. As people start talking about the mystery person who solved the problem, Professor Lambeau gets curious and decides to put another really hard problem on the board. It's a problem that took him and his colleagues 2 whole years to figure out. But when Will is caught solving the second problem, Professor Lambeau mistakes him for someone causing trouble and chases him away. This makes Will really angry, so he insults the professor. However, when Lambeau realizes that Will actually solved the problem correctly, he becomes determined to find him and help him reach his untapped potential. Even with all the difficulties in his life, Will finds solace in spending time with his best friend Chucky and their close-knit group of friends. One night, they go to a bar near Harvard University, and Chucky catches the eye of a beautiful woman named Skylar. Wanting to impress her, Chucky lies and says he's a student at Harvard. But things get tricky when another student challenges Chucky's knowledge of American colonial history. Sensing that things might get heated, Will steps in and engages in an intellectual battle using his well-memorized historical facts. Thankfully, they resolve the situation peacefully, and Skylar becomes interested in Will because of his intelligence and cleverness. Just when it seems like things are getting better for Will, something unexpected happens. He gets into a violent fight with someone from his past who used to bully him when they were in kindergarten. The fight gets really intense, and in the heat of the moment, Will accidentally hits a police officer who tries to intervene. This leads to serious legal trouble for Will, and he faces the possibility of going to jail. The judge handling his case is strict and unforgiving, and even though Will knows a lot about legal precedents and cites a case from the 1700s, the judge remains unmoved. But then something changes. Professor Lambeau, recognizing Will's incredible talent in math, steps in to help. He offers Will a choice: either go to jail or be released under Lambeau's supervision. The condition is that Will must study math and also receive therapy to address his anger and defensive traits. Will reluctantly chooses the second option, although he's not completely convinced about the importance of therapy. Despite several attempts by different psychologists, none of them are able to connect with Will on a deep level. This leaves Professor Lambeau frustrated and desperate for a solution. As a last resort, he reaches out to an old friend named Sean McGuire, who went to MIT with Lambeau, but they had grown apart over time. Sean, who comes from the same neighborhood in South Boston as Will, brings a unique perspective and is able to challenge and confront Will's defenses. Finally, progress is made in breaking through Will's barriers. In one intense session, Will analyzes a watercolor painting created by Sean himself, revealing deep-seated emotions and guilt over his wife's premature death. Sean, feeling exposed and defensive, momentarily loses control and grabs Will by the throat, threatening to undermine his chances of personal growth. However, this incident marks a turning point, and Sean recognizes the challenge that Will presents. He insists that Lambeau bring Will back for weekly sessions. In the therapy sessions that follow, Sean opens up about his own experience as a victim of child abuse, which leads to a major breakthrough. At first, Will is hesitant to connect with Sean's experiences, but gradually he starts accepting Sean's reassurances that he wasn't to blame for the abuse and neglect he suffered. The weight of Will's painful past becomes overwhelming, and he finally breaks down emotionally. This becomes a turning point for him as he realizes he doesn't have to let his inner demons control him anymore. With this new understanding, Will feels empowered to take control of his own life and move beyond the role of a victim. As time goes on, the relationship between Will and Professor Lambeau becomes strained due to Lambeau's sole focus on Will's mathematical talents. Lambeau continuously pushes Will to achieve greatness, even arranging interviews for challenging job positions. However, Will resists the pressure and refuses to attend these interviews, despite their potential to showcase his exceptional abilities. This creates tension between Lambeau and Sean, as they have differing opinions about what path is best for Will's future. Sean believes that Lambeau is pushing Will too hard and emphasizes the importance of Will's loyal and supportive friends who have always been there for him. The conflicting views between Lambeau and Sean make the situation surrounding Will's future more complicated. During a heated argument witnessed by Will, he realizes that the situation is more complex than just him against the world. He recognizes that his mentors, Lambeau and Sean, are also flawed and struggling individuals, dealing with their own insecurities and shortcomings. Meanwhile, Skylar, who genuinely cares about Will and sees his potential, suggests that they move to California together. She plans to attend medical school at Stanford University, but the thought of such a big change in his life overwhelms Will, and he starts to panic. When Skylar tries to show her support for his past experiences, Will misunderstands her words and thinks she is being condescending. This triggers a strong reaction from Will, and he quickly storms out of the dormitory, disregarding the work he has been doing with Lambeau as unimportant. Even though Lambeau pleads with him not to waste his potential, Will walks away, leaving everything behind. During later job interviews, Will begins to feel unhappy and disillusioned. He passionately explains to an interviewer why he doesn't want to be a government codebreaker. In another interview, he sends his friend Chucky in his place. And in a funny turn of events, Chucky makes fun of the interviewers, even managing to get money from them before playfully threatening them. Sean, who is very observant, notices that Will is good at predicting when his personal and romantic relationships won't work out. This leads Will to either let them end naturally or intentionally leave to avoid emotional pain. When Sean asks Will about his dreams and goals, Will gives a playful response. But Sean is not impressed and tells him to leave. Later, when Will has an honest conversation with his best friend Chucky and admits that he wants to work as a laborer for the rest of his life, Chucky confronts him in a direct way. Chucky believes it's a waste for Will not to use his incredible abilities and wants Will to surprise him one day by leaving without saying goodbye. Chucky's honesty deeply touches Will, even more than the advice from any trained professional, including Sean. To find more help, Will goes to another therapy session with Sean, who shares his own story of being abused as a child. At first, Will feels defensive and angry, but over time, he starts to trust Sean and accepts that he wasn't to blame for what happened to him. Finally, overwhelmed by his emotions, Will breaks down and faces the deep pain he has been carrying inside. After a period of thinking deeply about himself, Will decides that he wants to break free from his difficult past and take control of his own life. On his 21st birthday, his friends give him a fixed-up Chevy Nova as a symbol of their support and belief in his ability to create a new path for himself. Inspired by their gift and his own determination, Will makes a big decision. He chooses to be with Skylar in California, even though he turns down good job offers from big companies and the government that used to tempt him. In a heartfelt note to Sean, using one of his own sayings, Will tells him, "I had to go see about a girl," and starts a journey towards a brighter future. Sean also decides to go on his own adventures around the world, but not before making peace with Lambeau and thanking him for their time together with Will. The movie ends with a touching moment when Chucky, finally getting his wish, goes to Will's apartment and finds out that he has started a new and better life. It's a really emotional moment for Chucky as he realizes how much Will has changed and grown. As Will drives towards California, you can feel a sense of freedom and hope in the air, showing that he's taking a big leap into an uncertain but exciting future. The story of Will hunting reminds us that our past doesn't define who we are, and that we have the power to overcome our own inner battles and shape our future. With the help of mentors, supportive friends, and his own reflection, Will breaks free from the things that held him back. His journey of learning about himself and growing inspires us to face our own fears, realize our potential, and see the opportunities that come with second chances. Remember to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to get more movie summaries like this. Thank you for watching.